Hello and welcome to our next Soul Talk podcast. And today I'm here with Faith Hiles. Did I say it right?
Yes,
Hiles.
Yes,
Yeah.
I get that all the time.
So I've actually never called you your full name. No, I thought that earlier. I thought, I hope I say Hiles, and she's not like, actually it's pronounced Hilias.
I wish people did that. I always get Hills.
Hills, yeah.
But I like Hilias. I might change it.
Oh, that actually,
I'll put a note
started
in.
something now.
You have started a trend.
So I sort of know bits about what we're going to talk about today, but we've not had a chance to even talk about your story or where things come from. So I'm really intrigued to hear about it. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about you?
Yes. So my name's Faith Hiles. I'm 23. I am bald, and I choose not to wear wigs because of everything that's just happened. I've just kind of grown out of them.
Okay.
Because I used to always hide with wigs, and now I just feel like I'm more me, and I've grown with the journey of it. So my hair loss started when I was 10.
Right. Okay.
13 years later, here I am now. And I have 2 kittens.
Oh,
so, I know. So that's
random
just kind of random facts.
Random fun facts. Yes.
But so my journey kind of starts when I was 10 years old. My mum found 3 bald patches on my head, so almost like a big rectangle at the back of my head, and then like a big circle, like 2 circles above my ears. And at first she thought I was pulling it out. So there's a term called, I hope I say this right, there's a term called trichotillomania, and that is a hair pulling condition where you feel the need to pull on your hair or your eyebrows or your eyelashes. And she thought I was doing this. But I always had my hair up. I was a really active kid. I never really bothered with my hair. It was always in a ponytail or a bun for dance. And I went to the doctors, and they diagnosed me as alopecia areata. And they just said, you need to stop stressing. And they put it down to stress. And then we were just confused as to how a 10-year-old could be so
I was
stressed.
just going to say then.
Because I had nothing to stress about apart from feeding my dogs on my Nintendo DS, and that was about it.
Yeah.
So I had nothing really to stress about. But yeah, these bald patches occurred, and we did really well to cover it up until I was about 13. So it was 2012, and no, that's a lie, 2013. I was in year 8 of high school, and it just happened one Tuesday evening. I had to get this wig because it just got too bad. We couldn't cover it up. We tried headbands, we tried different hairstyles, we tried hairspray, gel, the whole lot.
And at this point, is a loss still around the ears and at the back?
So it was always, it was the back, the ears, and then they joined up. So it was like a big, you could just see like a big band across my scalp. So it's almost like my forehead just continued.
Yeah.
So it was like a big ring. And then I almost had like a thinning of my hair at the top. So I had like a visible halo, I like to call it.
Yeah.
So it was like the full on top of my head was showing as well. And that was the bit that was tricky to cover. But then it started to get, my actual hairline started to go further and further back. And then once that happened, my hair was just too thin for anything to be covered up. So that's why we tried black headbands, because that covered the front. Yeah. But it meant that my ponytail at the back just wasn't doing anything, because the bobble was like a little loom band by that point. So that's why we had to resort to wigs. So yeah, because my hair used to be really thick, so I think as well once it started to go thin, it was just not. It just
literally my head is shooting with like so many questions.
It's just
so excuse me if I go quickly. Tell me about the wig situation, because it's quite a journey on its own, and there's other situations as well where you may be in a circumstance of needing to wear a wig, and I think actually sometimes you don't always necessarily need the wig. Now they're becoming like a great way to just change your hair without needing to do much to it. So tell me about that journey. How did it feel getting the wig? And obviously by this time you're a teenager as well. So we'll go into more of, school life and stuff. But yeah, I can imagine this.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll start off by saying I never got bullied. I was very lucky, very privileged. I didn't get bullied, but there was rumours but I had a very strong friendship and a friendship group that protected me.
Oh, that's so lovely.
And they really looked out for me because I did not have a backbone when I was in high school. I was the shyest person you'd meet. Even if I knew the answer, I would not put my hand up. I was that kid. So the idea of getting a wig, I just thought of a cartoon character having a wig blow off in the wind. That's initially what stemmed all my thoughts.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, it's going to look horrific. It's going to look like a wig. It's not going to be me. But I was adamant on getting a wig that I was like, you know what, I want a wig that I want.
Yeah.
So, because my biological hair was curly, it was ginger, it was frizzy, and I was like, I want to stay ginger, but I want straight hair. Because forever I was like, I want straight hair.
Oh, really? Oh, so you got to pick some better options for yourself.
I need to pick my option. It needs to be what I want. So, and I didn't want a fringe. So it was, I can't even describe it. It was like a off red, had streaks of black through it. It was not a vibe, but it was an emergency buy at the time. Okay. And so it did its job. It had a purpose, it did its job. But I hated that first wig because it was an emergency buy. Yeah,
are they uncomfortable too? I've had a few pieces in some shoots and stuff before, but I would say they're quite heavy. And can be quite itchy.
It's strange. It was like, it felt hot under the wig. So it was itchy because the one I got was quite cheap.
Yeah.
But that was at the time. So we're talking exactly 10 years ago.
Yeah, and like the technology of wigs was a lot further behind them.
Human hair, I think, was only just coming into play, and it was more available for those going through chemotherapy. But for those with alopecia, I think it was still a new process.
Yeah, of course.
And we were just guided in the direction of the NHS, which that was the period where they were just about to come out of the NHS and stop. So the one we got, we actually bought because we couldn't get the coupons in time. And that's why it was an emergency buy. And this wig just did not look like my hair at all. But like I said, it was an emergency buy. It did the job at the time. And within the first 3 days of wearing it to school, I told 2 of my classes because it was just, I had a lot of events that happened. So on the Monday, I wore it on the Monday for the first day. I remember the bus was late. I walked into assembly with this new hair and I was like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to be staring at me because it's a brand new look. And as the shy one, you don't want to stand out. And I was like, I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb with this brand new hairstyle. So we walk in and I can see everyone like whispering and like, oh my gosh, that way. Yes. And then we go through class and all is fine. Throughout the day, fine. There was no PE, no dance. So it was just sit down classes. Didn't need to do much. Me and my friend came up with the word wandering. So we said we'd go on a wander as if I'd walk around the school, but it meant that my wig was sliding back. Oh. So I could adjust it, but if we were in a group, it didn't seem out of context. Yeah, of course. So it still felt fine. And then it got to lunch and I don't really talk about the story because it was really like, I found out more 4 years later.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I was eating my cheese panini and I just remember it so well. Cheese panini. But and we go outside and there's like the popular girls were there and we just go over and we're just walking and they come over and they're like, oh, like, have you got your hair done? And I was like, yeah, just a knee-jerk reaction. Like, and then one of the girls goes, wait, is it a wig? And she full on says it. And I remember before I went to school that day, I asked my mum, what if someone directly asked me, is it a wig? Yeah. And my mum was like, no one will do that. Like, no one will have the audacity to do that to you. And I was like, okay, like, it'll be fine. No one will know.
And so did you feel like really unprepared?
Yeah, very unprepared. Yeah. I froze and I was like, no, like, what are you talking about? No, like, don't be silly. It's my hair. And she actually was like, no, but, and she went to reach as if to feel the front of the mesh. And that's when I kind of hit her hand out the way. And me and my friend, she dragged me off to the PE block where my tutor was. And I was there for like half an hour trying to calm down. And after I walked off, at that point, a rumour went round that she actually pulled my wig off, but that never happened. So from that day, the whole school actually knew that I was wearing a wig, but I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, and that's kind of how, I know that was kind of how that day went, but I thought it ended with me just calming down and then it was sorted.
And so did this impact anything further than at school?
Yeah.
Do you feel like actually that situation happening instigated something that wasn't happening before actually and might have
so I'd
pushed more awareness to the fact that you were wearing a wig?
Yeah, so I think that's probably why I didn't get bullied, because everyone already subconsciously knew.
Okay.
Well, I didn't know they knew, but they knew. But 2 days after that event, I actually went to the head of year and said, can you tell the 2 main classes that I'm in that I'm wearing a wig? Because I'll feel more comfortable
if they just know.
If they just know.
Yeah.
Not like it's going to be out in the blue, like it's just got to be there, and they know about it, and it's just a bit of awareness as well. But at this point as well, I decided to take my wigs off for PE and dance so I could do it fully, because I was an active person. And I was like, I'm going to dance, and my wig is not going to fall off. So that's how I managed that. And everyone took it really well, and no one really talked. And I just thought, oh, maybe they just like want to give me space. But now looking back, I'm like, we probably already knew and like didn't want to talk about it. So
which I think it's really a lovely experience to have in secondary school setting.
Yeah.
I can imagine there must have been other schools and maybe other people who've been in a similar situation that
have had a much harder time than what I did.
But that's so lovely that you've had such a beautiful friendship. And I love the code words that was used. Like that is just, do you think that if it would have been a bit of a different journey if you'd not had those friends at school?
100%. Because I mean, after that Monday, when the rumour started to go around, my friend messaged and directly approached that person and was like, what do you think you're doing? Like, come on, put yourself in her position. And we were 13.
Wow.
So you wouldn't think they would be that mature to have that conversation. But
like that's what's really does. Very wow.
It just makes you really grow up when something serious comes involved. But I will always say I was very fortunate through high school that was the only thing that happened. And everyone, no one ever judged or left me out or anything like that. And no one batted an eyelid, really. They just let me get on with things. Things might have been said, but nothing that I knew.
Nothing you felt like was made really apparent to you. And so this journey is going, I'm guessing for you, maybe surprisingly well at the time in some ways. Behind sort of the scenes when you weren't at school and obviously within yourself, where there are battles there that you were having to manage?
So many. It was almost like I just couldn't wait to get the wig off because it was so itchy and it was sweaty, especially in the summer. It was really uncomfortable. Even the later wigs that I did get, I just couldn't wait to get it off and just be me. So when I was around people, I called it my hair instead of a wig. But then at home, it was a wig. I wanted to get it off.
Right.
I didn't want it on. But there was a lot of tears and a lot of just frustration because alopecia is one that you can't control. It's like the weather. You never know what's going to happen. So alopecia is definitely just, you don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. But I was also fortunate through high school and college, actually, that my eyebrows and eyelashes stayed and only started falling out when I was 18. So I'd almost got past my hair falling out at that point. I could just focus on my features. But definitely the going home, there was a lot of tears and upset and like pep talks with my mum and dad behind closed doors. My dad would always say, you've got so much power, like you'll find it one day. And I did find it. But my mum was always there to just calm me down and be like, it's going to be okay. And so there was a lot of positivity at home. And again, that helped me out so much. There was no negativity there. But there was a lot of tears and emotions behind closed doors. So there was definitely a front I was putting on every time I was walking out the door.
I feel like the identity of what you were using with the wig when you were out in sort of public areas, but when you were at home, and the fact that you felt like actually the wig wasn't actually part of your identity. So what was you?
Me, I was bubbly. I was the big sister. I was the dancer, and even in year 11 and going on from there till now, I was the dancer. You know, and I do now. I used humour to cope through my alopecia. So I was very funny and I was very giddy. And I never wanted to say no to being outside.
Yeah.
I found any opportunity to dance or to do things like that. And I did just get to a point where I was like, life is worth more than just hiding myself now. Like, I just want to be me without the wig and just do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it was then just other people's judgment and opinions that would hinder that.
Yeah.
So once I got past that is when my growth just went up there.
So yeah. God, that's amazing, and amazing to have found that at quite a young age. Some people, I would say, like still in the 30s, would be looking for that in themselves. So do you feel like actually going through having alopecia actually pushed you to maybe find who you truly are within a bit more? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think because obviously when you're like 13, you're a teenager, you're going through so many hormonal changes, life changes. You know, you start to become who you are anyway as an identity and build yourself up as to who you are.
Yeah.
So I think alopecia was always a part of me, but you started to control things that I wanted to do. So if I did dance in a wig, I wouldn't dance full out.
Yeah.
Or if I was on a roller coaster, I wouldn't enjoy it as much. I was almost like gripping on and like very tense. So I remember my traps would get really sore because I'd be like up here all the time. So once I like realised like I'm fine, like it's okay, then you do settle. But I do think that going through, if my hair like fell out now and I had a full head of hair and it just fell out now, no one can prepare for that. So I think because mine did happen gradually over time, it helped me come to terms with what was going on.
Yeah.
And then I like almost knew I was going to be bald, so I had accepted that before I went fully bald.
Yeah.
And I think that helped the process as well. Just accepting that these are the cards I'm dealt with. I'm just going to learn and grow with it rather than reject it and try and change what was meant to be me in the first place.
Yeah.
So just almost twisting it to make a happy story and a happy moment out of it so I can keep going.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so mind-blowing, inspiring because, there's just, like you said, when you have a lot of hormonal changes, you're starting to like people, and then you've got your friendship group and like things coming up. And I think to be able to have turned that around in such a positive way, I'm just like, I'm in awe of that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it took its time, obviously, but and it was the environment I was surrounded by that just helped so much.
I think that's come up a lot in a lot of the podcasts that I've done, is that it really matters who you surround you by and what environment you're in. Massively. Is literally a make or break of how that process is going to go, is how much you're able to be supported during that. Because I think if you were maybe managing some of those things alone, it's a lot. It's a lot. Looking back at the childhood sort of, another doctor put it down to stress. There are, I believe anyway for me, that sometimes we carry inward stresses that we're really unaware of, and that it's our body sort of has its way of showing that stress without us mentally really knowing it. Our body has a reaction to sort of the trauma and stresses that we go through. I think especially in childhood, and we sort of carry those up to adulthood. What do you think it is? That have there been any discussions of it could have been like maybe something just traumatic that happened here that's caused a bit of shock? from some people I know that have dealt with elements of alopecia before, it's been like something traumatic that's happened that they've not even realised the connection. But do you feel like there was any sort of inward stress or trauma that you hadn't noticed until later on?
Yeah, so the one thing that I've discovered was that when my granddad passed away, all the children didn't know he was ill. He hid his cancer so well. He never showed he was in pain. But when he passed away, my mum, I remember she sat me down on the couch and she told me, and obviously you process it as a kid, and I was the older sibling, so it was upsetting, but we managed to get through it. And then that's the way she sat me down on the couch and told me, stuck with me so much that she did it again, and straight away I went, who died? And I was only 10.
Wow.
Then.
And so almost like you've recognised the manner and
like the mannerisms and things. So I don't know whether it was that loss of losing people or whether that was too much for me to handle. And obviously at 10 years old, there was a lot of change because it would have been my SATs and then high schools, choosing high schools, friendship groups. So I don't know whether it was just like a big amount of change all in one go. But also with alopecia, as much as it's stress, as it is an autoimmune condition, it can be paired with other things.
Okay.
So that includes eczema, Crohn's disease, for me, celiac disease.
Yeah, I was going to come to this,
My gluten intolerance. So we don't know how long I'd been gluten intolerant for, but autoimmune conditions travel in pairs. If you've got one, you've most likely got on something else.
Okay.
And then they react to each other.
Right, okay.
So I did find that eventually, if I did eat gluten, I found my eyebrows and eyelashes would fall out. But if I was eating clean, that I started to do in uni because I was dancing and I was on like a healthy diet and things, my hair was flourishing and went really thick again. So I found that was an overlap and a correlation that was the only thing that had worked, as well as doing a lot of yoga. So at the time, which de-stressed me.
Yeah.
But otherwise, childhood-wise, that's the only thing that I can really pinpoint.
That you could pinpoint.
Yeah, like we've not, to be fair, it's not a discussion that we've openly spoken about because we just saw it as my hair fell out and then it's the journey from there.
Of course, and having to deal and manage with all of that.
We've not thought about the before and anything that happened. It's just not something that we've spoken about. It's just been a journey of trying to hide it and deal with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what was the turning point then where you were like, the wigs, not me, I'm going to be me now, like I'm bold, I'm Faith, this is what I am, I love to dance. Like what was that moment, and talk us through that journey?
I love this story. So it was an upsetting story at the time, but now I laugh a lot.
Oh, I love that.
Because I find it hilarious when I describe it. So we're in college. I'll paint the picture. In college.
Okay.
The exams were like 2 weeks away. So it would have actually been around this time, like 5-6 years ago. Like exactly. Yeah. And we're running through the last dances before we go home for Easter. And I do this spin with this girl as like partner work, and she steps on my ponytail. At this point I was wearing a wig because I'd learned to dance in my wigs at this point.
Okay.
And it felt comfortable enough, so I was okay. And obviously wigs have got better by this point, 2018. We've learnt, it's nice.
Yeah. There's hairlines.
There's hairlines, it's good. There was a mesh, it blended. So as I'm dancing in my wig, she steps on my ponytail, and as I've spun out of this lift we were doing, my ponytail's gone one way and I've gone another way.
Oh,
and so I describe it as like, Ice Age and the squirrel that like goes flying for the acorn.
Oh no!
My wig was the squirrel, and it flew. The wig flew across the room. At the time, I was quite petrified, and I picked up my wig and like ran to the toilets. Realised I didn't have the net that keeps my hair in.
Oh, right.
So I had to run back into the studio, get my hair net, and then run back into the bathroom. But that was the day that like I felt like I couldn't dance after that. Like I was so scared to dance in case it happened again. And I remember apologising to the group And I was like, if it happens on the exam, just keep going, it's fine. And the fact that I had to say that, I was like, this is not how I want to dance. And I was just about to turn 18, just about to go to uni to study dance. And I was like, no, this is just not it. So I posted a photo of me without a wig to Instagram. And I was like, if anyone asks at uni, they can just stalk my page instead. So that's how I dealt with it. And I only wore wigs from then to go to the shops or go out, really, like to restaurants and things. Otherwise, when I danced or when I went to see friends, I didn't wear a wig, and it just got used. My wig got used less and less and less from then. So yeah.
Where was the moment where you were like, "We're done with this for good"? Are you done with it for good?
Yeah. I'm done with wigs for good, but I'm always open to wearing a wig for fun.
Okay.
And I've done that a few times.
Yeah.
But the day where I was done, I actually based my dissertation around this.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
It was such a big moment.
Yeah. Very empowering.
Yeah. So I was in a taxi on my way to an interview to Card Factory, and I got the job. But at the time, I was happy about it. But in this taxi, I was running my hands through my actual hair, so I wasn't wearing my wig because I'd just come from dance class. So I was running my hands through my hair to almost brush it, and a massive clump of hair came out of my hand. And I was thinking, I can't put this ball of hair on the floor of a taxi because the guy will have to clean it up, or the next person will see a massive ball of hair on the floor. I thought, I can't throw it out the window because I will look like a crazy person, and it may look like a bird has just flown out the window instead, because it was that much. So I actually hid it in my coat pocket.
Okay.
And I didn't feel like I could bin this clump of hair until I got back home after the interview, after going back to uni, finishing uni, and then getting back home at like 7 p.m. So I left my house that morning with the hair that I had. I came back with the same amount of hair, but half of it in my pocket. And that was the day I was like, why am I carrying around half of my hair that's fallen out in my pocket? And I just I felt gross that I'd had to do that. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So I phoned up home and I said, you are coming round to my flat on the weekend and we're shaving it off. And we did it. And that's how I did it. And I knew it was a great sign because we went out for coffee after I'd buzzed it off, and there was like a beautiful sunset. So it's just like it all kind of fell together, and I was like, I'm so glad. And
did it feel good to almost like shave away the worry?
Yeah, like it was a massive weight lifted off my head after that day. And then I just grew out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know the eyebrows get me though? Because I was showing my mum earlier. I was like, these are amazing. Yeah. And so talk me through the process of how you apply.
Yeah, so there's no hair there now.
Okay.
So for the past 2 years I've been wearing these. So it's almost like, you know, when you're a kid and you have like a butterfly or a tractor.
The little like tattoos.
It's the exact same, but these are just eyebrows.
Wow.
So the trickiest bit is trying to make them look like twins and they're not like wonky.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's I know that's the only thing. So concentration face in its prime.
Yeah, you have perfected this. You can tell because they are perfectly in line.
I've tried so hard. But yeah, and then I just found a style that suited me. Because I did go for like a more microbladed one at the time.
Yeah.
Because I was like brand new to them and I had no eyebrows. I was like, let's just go for what majority do. And then I saw other styles, and then
I love them. They look so natural, and like they even like sort of ombre out, don't they? Amazing. That's so fascinating. Let me know if this is okay to talk about as well. Talk me through meeting other people then, and like relationship stuff. Like, did anything with the alopecia or anything impact anything, or just talk us through that process.
Yeah, so I remember wanting a boyfriend and a relationship when I was 18, but I wanted a boyfriend. Like I wasn't keen on like
flinging around.
Like the Tinder stuff. I did have Tinder and Bumble. They were the two apps that I had. and I did use apps rather than going out and meeting people because I was still a shy person. But yeah, a few comments on Tinder was like, when I told them I had alopecia, because it was one of the first things I wanted to say, I was like, if you're not going to accept that, then there's no point going
just going to say it now.
Like, I'm not going to waste my time. And a few things that they said was like, I can't imagine running my hand through your hair because it'll be really strangly like a skeleton. Yeah, so that was one of the comments I had, and I was like, okay, goodbye.
Not for me.
Yeah, goodbye.
Block.
Yeah. And then a lot of people just like wanted a tick box, like wanted to sleep with someone like who had a wig or wanted fantasy things. And I was like, that's not my vibe. I was like, I'm 18, I'm still innocent. I don't know what you mean. So I was like, what on earth? Like, let's move on. But then I met Brandon, and yeah, he was a surprise. I thought he was like, from his photos, I thought he was just going to be like, oh no, just full of himself. But he was the complete opposite, and he was the only person that I actually met up with and went on a date with properly.
Right, okay.
And we went to the cinema, and then we carried on and started talking, and I wore my wig to the date. And then halfway through, he opened up to me about some secrets, and so I opened up to him about my alopecia, and he was like, and I showed him a photo as well. I don't think he processed it or like didn't quite understand. And I remember having my phone in my hand, and I don't know whether this bit's romantic or cringy, but we're gonna say
we're gonna hear it anyway.
He was like, I think he said like, come here, and so I give him my phone to have a look at the photo, but instead he just took my hand and kissed my hand instead.
Oh.
So, and that was after I'd told him, and he was like, it doesn't bother me. Like, so
those are the guys we want out there. Yes,
like the first gentleman I'd really
I love that. That's so beautiful.
And he actually helped me through the journey of not needing to wear wigs and being me. He'll probably hate me for saying this as well, but he there was like one time, I think again it was like second or third date, still very new, and he'd seen me without a wig at this point, and he just said, I can imagine you in the future with just no hair. And that was 2 years before I actually, 8 months before I actually shaved it off.
Oh wow.
So within our first year of dating, I'd buzzed it off because I felt so comfortable with him. And for him to prove to me that hair isn't everything, he actually shaved his head for cancer to show me that you don't need hair, it's just hair.
That is wow.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any more beautiful than that, does it?
No. And he buzzed a bit off as well.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
So I was like, please don't cut me.
It's such like a bringing together, actually.
Yeah.
Within this process, there's so much going on there.
I know. So,
just freedom of many things there.
Otherwise, I do get the odd weirdo online that will be like, that'll say stuff, but you're bound to.
There's just no avoiding it, unfortunately. There are, I see odd comments sometimes, and like my sister's quite on like social media and stuff, and that here and there. And do you know what? I wouldn't want to pick out like the negative comments with the positive, because the millions of positive comments that have been out 100%. There will always outshine anything else. Negative.
100%.
But just odd things here and there. I'm just like, why? Okay, you're thinking it, that needs like work. How would you then actively write that to somebody and do that action? I just don't.
No.
You can't comprehend it when you wouldn't dare to do that yourself.
I'm confused with their thought processes to be able to continue.
No, and like there's obviously no there's just no thought of the impact that might have on someone. And a lot of the podcasts that I've done, it's been because of something like that's had a really detrimental impact on that person then, because I feel like that those sort of scars, they stay with you a lot longer than you'd want them to, and they're really hard to heal from. So into the future now, I can see like you're doing a lot of work of bringing awareness to alopecia, which I was like, I've always said this since I met you. I love everything that you do. I just love the person that you are.
Thank you.
Yes, making people more aware of it, because it's not something that's talked about a lot. And I think unless you actually know someone who has had alopecia, I can imagine, you know, for many, especially when you're at school and stuff, some may not have actually known what it were, you know.
It actually became a shock to me when people knew. Even now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't have to tell you when you know what it is. Like, it's a shock to me, but then it's nice because you know it's working. And the word's getting out there. But yeah, I just like to show that almost like what's real online, because there's a lot of like edited things and things that are
literally, we've just been working on this before you came in. It's exactly what we've been doing.
And I'm just like, I just want to show people what's actually happening, like the real reality, like, you know. So yeah, so I make a point of like, I don't edit any photos. I edit waffle because I can waffle on for ages.
Oh my god, don't. But I'm the same.
I like to not edit photos and keep it quite raw and plain and simple. Because that's what it is. So I have posted more without my eyebrows. And I've talked openly about that more and my experiences as well. Just like, even I've just done a video about myths of people that are bald.
Oh, right, okay.
Might challenge people's assumptions of women that are bald as well, just to spin it in a different way. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it as well. I think it's also like internal therapy for me. Just to keep talking about it, because it is nice.
Is this starting to feel like maybe this has all happened because your purpose is to sort of bring awareness to it and help others find who they truly are?
Yeah, well, for years, I remember since probably I started wearing wigs, I always wanted to talk about alopecia. It was the one thing that I could talk for years about. Like, you wouldn't shut me up, even when like I was the shyest kid ever. Bring up alopecia, and I would talk forever about it. So it's always been a thing that I've wanted to do. So now there's a platform where I can do it, and I'm finding my voice a bit more with it. Then yeah, I'm really enjoying this journey.
So